What is going on, family? I am very stoked to get into a request from our good friend Mick today. Mick, excuse me, if I could talk. His request is for us to check out Florence and the Machine, and the song is called Free. I am very, very unfamiliar with Florence and the Machine, so this is like, I think, the second song that I am checking out from her. I think technically it's a her and not necessarily a band. I don't know what you guys refer to at all. So I think it's more really about Florence, not necessarily about the machine itself. So I don't know. Maybe the machine means something else. I don't even know. But let's go ahead and check it out. I'm stoked to get into it. And I did not have this ready. Now I do. Now we can do it.
Sometimes I wonder if I should be medicated.
Wow, that song it's got like a it's like a really smooth ride. If is what I feel like it takes you on. It's a very like consistent, like I love like the fact that the beat just like a constant like kind of like a locomotive kind of like beat, if you will, where it just doesn't really change that way. It's just like it's consistent throughout, so I think that's sick. And I think what I'm taking away from this song, I think so far, in it is it just really makes me think about like how much I feel like she like really is like nailing just kind of like the when you're kind of like in the good place in your life and you're really just kind of thinking about like this perspective, right? Like your mental health, your anxiety. Like I think she specifically in this one is talking about her anxiety, right? So when you're like in a better state of mind and you can kind of like sit back and analyze yourself that way, that's kind of what to me, I feel like this is what the perspective sounds like. So I think she kind of nails it from like the way that she wrote it that way, if that makes any sense, where like it doesn't make you like feel sad about it. It's almost just kind of like the truth of the matter. You know what I mean? Just kind of like the fact of it, if you will. And I feel like she's just kind of really making it very, very palatable, where it's very understandable, where it's relatable, I think, to pretty much everybody in that aspect, where it's not necessarily somebody that you might have crippling anxiety, like if you've just had moments where your anxiety has been high, and when you know that your anxiety is high, because anxiety is something that everybody faces, right? It's not just some people. It's something that we all have as human beings. So it's just whether or not like if it's more or not than the average person, or if it's higher, or if you're like more on alert in different ways. My anxiety is very triggered to like specific things. Does that make sense? But I don't really consider myself to have like high anxiety. But I can have a lot of high anxiety, and a lot of things do raise my anxiety levels. So that's not the first thing that I think of, like when I think about like my personal issues that way, is not my anxiety. You know what I mean? But a lot of people, like that's like the first thing that they'll think of. So I think obviously like this is kind of like targeting like those specific individuals. But again, for me, I think that I feel like it's extremely palatable. And I feel like there's a few artists out there, and I won't name them, but some of the ones that have reached more like commercial success that talk about some of the same subject matters, it's because they write it in a way that is very palatable, where maybe even the people who don't really have like that crippling level of those kinds of issues they're the ones who are really feeling it the most, but I think everybody else who just kind of deals with it a little bit as well also feels it through the music. And that's why I feel that's what I'm like taking away from this song, is that I feel like it's not just for those people who have the crippling versions of those kinds of different issues in their lives, if that makes any sense.
And I push it back, but it keeps on coming, and being clever never got me very far. Because it's all in my head, you're too sensitive, they said. I said okay, but let's discuss this at the hospital.
Fire.
Picks me up, puts me down, picks me up, puts me down, picks me up, puts me down. 100 times a day, picks me up, puts me down, chews me up, spits me out.
I really like that picks me up and puts me down thing 100 times a day, because I feel like that again is kind of like just nailing the concept of what kind of like the day of like that it kind of looks like a lot for a lot of people, where like 1 minute you're like on cloud 9 and the next minute you're like 6 feet under the ground, you know what I mean? And then like the next second you could be back up again, where like sometimes it really feels that way, where it's so fast, where it happens so incredibly fast, and it's not really anything that specifically targets and triggers those things. It's just like how some people are made that way, where it's like nothing happened, but like now I'm down, and then something could change in an instant, and it goes right back up. So it is like very exhausting going from like extreme emotions from one side to the other, back and forth all day long. And I can only relate to this like so much. You know what I'm saying? Where I feel her. I know what she's saying.
Picks me up, puts me down. But I hear the music, I feel the beat. And for a moment when I'm dancing, I'm free. I hear the music, I feel the beat. And for a moment when I'm dancing, I'm free. Is this how it is? Is this how it's always been? To exist in the face of suffering and death, and somehow still keep singing. Oh, like Christ upon a cross, who died for us, who died for what? Oh, don't you wanna call it off? But there is nothing else that I know how to do but to open up my arms and give it all to you. 'Cause I hear music, I feel the beat. And for a moment when I'm dancing, I'm free. I'm free. I'm free.
Well, that's really cool that they filmed it there, and they had that little extra thing in there as well. I I thought the video concept was really sick. I really liked how they ended it with the overlooking like the graveyard. And what I took from that, and like with her putting like her head like on his shoulder, right there towards the end, like even when she was dancing and like all of that coming together, like I think to me what I took away from that is coming with the realization that like it's never gonna end, and it's gonna be with you until the end. And I think that's a lot of times the difficult reality sometimes is that these issues that we face are really never going to stop. It's just how do we combat them, and how do we understand ourselves better so that way we can handle it better the next time that it comes around. Because it's not going to change and it's not going to go away. There is no magical pill or treatment that we can get that are just going to fix those things about ourselves. It's just the way that we're constructed as people. As much as we might want there to be some magical answer. But I think that the lesson throughout this song and just the video itself is more or less coming to terms with the peace that like that is a part of who you are, and it doesn't make you any less of a person because of that. So yeah, I think the music itself has a good energy to it, and I think it works for what it is. You know what I mean? Yeah, I think that's really all I got for this one. I appreciate you, Milk, for the suggestion on this one. I did really appreciate this video and this song. So thank you again for the request. Be kind to a stranger today. Tell somebody that you love them. And if you haven't joined the Foxtrot family, there's always room for you.